Hello again. So today we're going to talk about the concept of transformational change. One of the reasons you're here is that you want to create the best life possible for your family. That includes your children as well as yourselves. Things may be going pretty well, or they may not. There's no doubt in my mind that some things are going well for you, and we always build on what works. The transformational change model breaks down the steps that we go through as we grow, change, and create. You may be familiar with the idea that we create our lives. In fact, we're creating and co-creating with each other all the time, which involves changing and transformation. You already do it. So are you curious? The idea here is to make our creating and transforming as conscious as possible. So let's have a look at some concepts. Okay, so the process of transformational change goes something like this. This is you, or me, living life as we do. We'll label this state of being status quo. Then, dun dun dun, a disruptive event occurs. Now this could be anything, good or bad. It just has to disrupt things a bit. An illness, our own or family members, car troubles, natural disaster, divorce, arrest, getting fired. And as I said, it could also be something good, something you want. Getting married, moving, winning the lottery, a big promotion, having a baby. So, whatever the disruptive event, it disrupts you, right? And it doesn't really matter how you try to handle it, one way or another, if you're honest with yourself, it's into the chaos we go. And we hang out there for a bit, usually being pretty uncomfortable. Chaos involves feelings like helplessness, fear, confusion, feeling unsettled, insomnia. We can be pretty irritable when we're in the chaos too and get angry more easily. So sometimes we try to hide it. We try to hide it from other people that we're experiencing chaos. We may even try to hide it from ourselves, but it is what it is. It's the chaos, and we may even feel like we're the only one it happens to, although that's not true. While we're in there, in the chaos, things are actually happening with us on the feeling level. One of the things that might be happening is we might be racking our brain to find a way out of the chaos, and that would be on a conscious level, because it's not a lot of fun, right? At some point, we become aware of at least one choice. And that choice is going to involve us moving in one of two directions. So a fairly common choice, especially in the early days of chaos, involves seeking to reestablish the status quo. Take me back there, we cry. I was so happy there. It was wonderful. I knew what to expect. Well, maybe it wasn't wonderful, but I did know what to expect. And the action we take based on that choice is designed to return us to our earlier state, where we can blissfully forget all our troubles, including our trip to the chaos, and settle into the comfort of our good old status quo. But what's likely to happen at this point? Any ideas? Well, life doesn't stand still. Everyone with kids knows this. It is not pretty standing still for too long with little kids around, is it? So, what's likely to happen, you think? You guessed it. Another disruptive event. It might even be the same as the last one, or it might be different, but it is likely to feel similar, though. And back into the chaos we go. The second time often feels worse than the first, if we're lucky enough or smart enough to really stay present with ourselves in the chaos. And this is what the meat of leadership parenting is about, by the way. We may get more than one idea in there and have more than one choice. Perhaps one of the new choices will have a different direction. Will we choose it? Well, that depends on a lot of things. And again, you can't really make a wrong choice, but let's just say that we are really attached to the old status quo. So we make the same choice again, or we pick something really similar. You can see how we don't seem to have as much confidence in the choice as we did before, but it's familiar. Perhaps we have the support of others, doctors, family, teachers, neighbors, others. So that's what we do. And what happens? You guessed it. It's likely less surprising this time, but here we go again. back into the chaos. Oi, it's getting weirdly comfortable here. And also not. Ugh. Okay, so we all know what happens next, right? The options will come. But we haven't been all that happy making the choices that we did in the past. Perhaps, just perhaps, mind you, we're ready to do something a little different. And we improve both the quality and the quantity of the options by being really present with ourselves, our iceberg, in the chaos. So, here come the options. Virginia liked people to wait until they had at least 3 options. 1 option, she would say, was no choice at all. 2 was a dilemma. 3 was the first point at which you usually had some chance at change. And all the while, we're thinking about the things that we think we'll miss about the old status quo. But do we really still believe we'll be safe from disruption there? Maybe not. So this time, we decide to make a different choice, a different type of choice, a choice that is decidedly different from the choices we've considered in the past. Most of us have done this at one time or another in our lives. And in the transformational change model, this choice leads to the transformational idea. So we pick it, and what happens then? Well, we start moving in a different direction. And where do we land? Well, sometimes it seems like we land in a mini chaos. Not always, but it does. It's a new thing we're trying. And if it does, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. The thing is, usually some of what we learned in the actual chaos, all the ways we've improved our ability to be present with ourselves in the moment, the mini chaos starts to feel less chaotic. We use those skills that we've gained. We relax into it and start to enjoy the practice to integrate process. And we stay there as long as we need to, using the techniques we learned in the chaos until at some point, very naturally, we have a new status quo. New and improved. Isn't that exciting? And really, it's just an illustration of how we already live our lives. Now that we've broken the process down and walked through it, let's go back and look at it all together. What I like about the transformational change model is that it's very clear. In addition, it's not judgmental. Seriously, that may seem unbelievable, but it's true. There are some very good reasons for making choices that return a person to the status quo after a disruptive event or 3. The important thing is that this model brings change-focused decision-making up for easy consideration. It takes what is an unconscious process for many and makes it conscious. This also makes it more teachable. So this model pretty clearly illustrates that we, as humans, are always in motion. Change is a constant in our lives. They're loops, aren't they, really? We've got this loop on the left, created by the cycle of disruption, chaos, and selection of a choice designed to return us to the status quo, a decision often made as quickly as possible as a means to escape the discomfort of the chaos. And then we've got the transformational change loop on the right, which occurs whenever we select a transforming idea and follow through with implementation. They really are 2 types of loops, and each has its uses. Now, personally, for me, I'm not a big fan of the left loop. I've done it. I felt I had to do it at times in my life, and I'm not sure how true that was, but I know I really believed it at the time. I've explored that loop as much as I want to in this life, and for me, it's the loop of misery. But I don't criticize myself for spending so much time there, and I don't criticize others either. The most neutral way to look at it from the perspective of desire to preserve what is that it is a loop of conservation. Where I prefer to spend my time is on the right, living the loop of excitement. Or it could also be considered the loop of progress, forward-moving progress, because all progress involves at some point making the choice to do something different, to risk losing something you believe you have for a different and better future. So where does the iceberg come into the transformational change model? Well, you are the iceberg, seriously. The iceberg is you. It's all the parts of you that we've just talked about. And it goes with you into the chaos. And the thing about that is that it's a resource for you there. Wherever you are in your chaos, your iceberg is a resource for you. Drawing your iceberg, as we learned in the last session, is not only an explanation of how we work as people, but it provides a robust strategy for regaining our power when we're feeling overwhelmed. The better connected we are to our iceberg, the greater the likelihood that we will generate the right option, have the courage to make the bold choice, and feel excited to follow through to victory. And none of this can be forced. None of this can be intellectually strategized either. Now, does this mean that once you've completed a difficult cycle of transformational change that you'll never engage the loop of conservation again? Of course not. It's a choice every time. Sometimes it's perfectly appropriate to act with a preservationist mindset. The key is to know that that's what you're doing, to engage in decision-making that is conscious of the impact of one's iceberg on their decisions. And of course, breaking it down in this way will make it easier to teach your children in a natural and enjoyable way. So that's the process of transformational change as used in the Satir model. I've made some recommendations in the notes for things to watch or read that illustrate the concepts. Of course, you can keep doing the iceberg exercise as well. In the next video, I'll be introducing the survival stances that keep us alive but interfere with real living. Virginia called them the coping stances. See you next time.